that line,
Yeah.
to where it's like, I'm your boss, I'm not your friend.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, you want a really healthy mentoring relationship. The one-to-one is probably the most powerful tool out there. I feel like one-to-ones aren't done necessarily right a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to have a lot of structure to your one-to-one. And do you need to coach? Do you need to measure? Do you need to review? Absolutely. But before you get into any of that stuff, first thing that you do is just spend some time just, hey, man, how you doing?
OG, y'all new to the game.
What's going on, everybody? This is Morgan J. Ingram here, host of the SDR Chronicles, bringing you motivational advice, tips, and tactics for your SDR career, sales career, and also your entrepreneurial career, as I believe that sales development is the mantra and vocal point of your career and also of your life because we use it every single day. And I have a special guest with me, Tyler Barron, VP of Sales at Beck Technology. And this is a very intriguing topic because I think it's important. We're not talking about metrics, talking about everything of that nature. We're talking about actually how to track the long-term happiness of your employees from a sales professional standpoint and how to do that effectively. So I'm super excited to have this conversation with Tyler today. And so Tyler, tell us a little bit more about yourself and why you're excited about this topic.
Cool. Well, Morgan, thanks for having me on. Really excited. Big fan of the podcast and big fan of everything that you do. So here at Beck Tech, we develop an enterprise solution for construction companies actually, and help solve the problem of helping to produce more accurate and more efficient budgets on like really big projects.
Yeah.
So we're an early growth tech company. I came through the ranks as one of the first salespeople, and it's actually my first year in a VP of sales role. So appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah, no, definitely. And this is definitely going to be super intriguing, guys, because like a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about today, has not been talked on the Chronicles. So it's going to be good stuff. And also unique industry, which I think is pretty cool. And so let's hop in the first question. So how do you deal with a sales professional who is a top performer, but he's toxic to the team's happiness? Like I think we need to talk about that first, because we're talking about the happiness, but let's talk about like the negative of like, okay, everyone's excited, but someone's really good, but they could easily affect that culture.
Right. And that is reality. At the end of the day, everybody always tries to look at the revenue. And I think that as an organization and as a leader, you just got to have certain non-negotiables. And I really believe that anything that's a detriment to your culture should be a non-negotiable. Not only that, the thing that I've found in the enterprise space is that it's pretty incompatible, meaning that the product that we sell is so deeply technical and it requires such a collaborative sell internally that if you're somebody that nobody wants to work with, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
And so we've never really had that issue where somebody's came in and just blown it out and then, as an asshole to everybody, because the reality is that person doesn't make it. We've got issues just like anybody else. You try to screen for those type of personality traits early on. We do a culture first interview, but Morgan, just speaking candidly on it, salespeople are really great at selling themselves.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
It's really, really hard to pick up on that during the interview phase. So usually what we find is that, somebody might think that they're a top performer or was previously a top performer, but the environment that we have, it's a really, really challenging sale. That's one thing that I really enjoy about it. Not only is it a expensive and technical product, it's a very change resistant industry. And that person gets humbled by it pretty quick. And they're like, okay, like I'm ready to listen and got to look at some of my peers and get some peer coaching. Or the reality is that you say, hey, this person's incompatible with our system and you got to make the change quickly.
Yeah, definitely. And that's super important. And, within addition to that, let's kind of go on the positive side from a happiness standpoint, making sure that everyone's excited. Why is that a main actually thing that you're quantifying and you're focused on? And then also additionally, how are you setting up your interview process to make sure that person is going to bring some spark to the team?
Yeah, so great question. So the reason why you measure it is because you measure the things that are important. And we spend a lot of time measuring the lagging indicators on the sales side as it relates to revenue. And even the leading indicators are always activity focused.
Mm-hmm.
But really, if you start to measure happiness, what you get is that you really get to understand if somebody's in line with your culture. You know, are they truly passionate about what they're doing? Are they excited about what they're doing? Because, you know, that has an effect on the environment, not just internally with the team, but with the client as well. And out of that, it really creates some great conversations with the rep around, okay, you're not happy right now. What's up, man? You know, what are you struggling with? And
Right.
just, be somebody that they can talk to and understand what's going on in their life. As it relates to the interview process, before we even get into sales skills and looking at the doing, we have a culture only interview.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have a group of about 45 people now. I got a sales team of 10. I still have my CEO on my first interviews. And we sit down there together and we really understand, does this person have the right DNA? And not just are they a fit, but are they a creative? Do they actually add value to us in terms of like a unique perspective, a diverse approach, a diverse background? And then as it relates to looking for the right attributes that I feel like really add value to the culture. It's more around, okay, has this person done something in their life to where they've really overcome certain circumstances? I think one thing to look for in passion and happiness is, hey man, like if like outside of you doing your job, like what are you into? And you can literally see it in their eyes whenever they start talking about that particular thing that they're into. Because one common theme that I've seen amongst great reps is that they everything that they do is done 100%, whether it's, fishing or, basketball or whatever it might be. And they bring that same energy to the sales environment. So, kind of really looking for that and just asking for that during the interview process. And then, hey, if they're a fit culture, big picture, bring them in, do some sales tactics. And then I just have them sit with the team for a couple hours and just, really see how they mesh with the team, and then put it back on the team to say, hey man, is this somebody that you want to be in the trenches with?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of great stuff there, and want to dive into one part you said in the interview process. You say, hey, what type of experiences have they had that, was going to cultivate and generate spark to the team? Does it have to be something that's sales related, or are you just looking at something in their life? It could be high school, college.
No. In fact, I'd say the majority of the stories that we look for and the ones that are really meaningful
Mm-hmm.
have nothing to do with sales or, career wise. They're all personal stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I really kind of feel like it kind of gets back to, hey, how do you make sure your reps happy and all that? It's, well, you got to have that connection with somebody where they're able to share their struggles and you can do life together.
Right.
And if somebody's really not willing to share those life experiences and have those candid conversations with you, in an interview setting, then it kind of gives you like the canned, like, response around, hey, with this deal, blah, blah, blah. You're like, really, man? Like, that's the most difficult thing you've been through?
Exactly. It's like you're lying or you just don't want to tell me the truth. Right. Yeah, of course.
And it is on us too to really approach people in a judgment-free zone and just have really candid conversations with people.
Right.
Everybody's got a story, and everybody's had something that they've struggled with, something that they've overcome. Our SDR manager, he's a Venezuelan immigrant. His family's down there, former professional soccer player, sends a ton of money back there. And whenever I first met him and he told my story about his why I wanted to do this, I was like, whoa, this is a dude that's on fire for life, that just appreciates every single day he's going to walk in this door. And everybody on the team has similar stories like that,
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's actually something that we did, when I was previously at my other company in our interviews. We always try to find people who are just on fire. Either they had a chip on their shoulder or they just wanted something more in their life. And those reps are going to be the best because, you may know this breakdown, but it's the skill versus will. So, you can have high skill, high will, low skill, low will, or high will, low skill. And so essentially when you interview people, you want to find people who have high will. And if they have low skill, that's fine because we can always teach skills. So that's super important within an organization, which kind of goes into our next question. So you have a team of people, you've hired them. All right, you got the toxic people out. So what is the best way to build relationships with your reps when you also have to keep them accountable for their quota as well?
Great question, because there is always that line,
Yeah.
to where it's like, I'm your boss, I'm not your friend.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, you want a really healthy mentoring relationship. The one-to-one is probably the most powerful tool out there. I feel like one-to-ones aren't done necessarily right a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to have a lot of structure to your one-to-one. And do you need to coach? Do you need to measure? Do you need to review? Absolutely. But before you get into any of that stuff, first thing that you do is just spend some time just, hey, man, how you doing? And so I came from a bigger tech company. Whenever I came on board 4 years ago, I reported directly to our president. And, I get in there to my first one-to-one, and I was used to the weekly shakedown. And
Yeah.
I get in there in our one-to-one, and, he's like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, well, I'm right here on this deal. I'm right here on this deal. And he's like, dude, stop.
Right.
How are you doing? I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm cool. He's like, no, man, like, seriously, it's a big transition for you. How are you doing? I'm like, I'm a little stressed out, traveling a little bit more, and I want more. And honestly, it took me like 6 months to get used to that.
Yeah. Because you're like, wait, what's going on?
And so honestly, I really give a lot of credit to my boss, Stuart Carroll, for teaching me just the importance of people, and you really get to know the rep. Because usually if there is a performance issue and you've done the right things to hire the right people and have the right systems in place,
Mm-hmm.
usually something going on that's related to the performance issues.
Right.
So just having the forum just to just kind of talk about life a little bit, I just feel like it's an absolute must. Now, in terms of, accountability, you definitely still got to have really measured objectives. And people got to know exactly where they stand, and you got to have systems in place to where people are constantly growing, and that there's a really clear path to get from, SDR1 to SDR2 or AE1 to AE2, and what that looks like. But, those paths don't just need to be quantitative. They also need to be qualitative, not just from a skill standpoint, but, hey, how are you exemplifying the culture as well?
Yeah, that's super important. And, within that, to build those relationships, because you never know, maybe they're the industry, right? Maybe the industry that they're selling to, like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore, right? But you build a good relationship, so then you can maybe help them out to maybe somewhere else where they want to go.
100%. And, we had a rep come to us last year, was just like, hey, man, like, this just isn't really my thing. The guy was a paramedic for a while.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, that's really where my passion's out. And I'm like, dude, hug it out, man. We'll miss you, but, glad that you're doing something that you're really into. Because you could tell whenever people just aren't really into it. And,
right.
But that's definitely a really big part of it. And I think the other thing too is just, in terms of accountability, is that as a leader, you've got to own it in terms of coming to them and owning the problem together.
Right.
So like, if they are struggling, you say, hey, Morgan, I could see that you really struggled last month. Help me understand what you're struggling with right now. What do you need help with? And also reinforce the thing that, hey, man, you got to constantly be raising your hand and let me know what's going on, because I'm here to help you. There's a lot of just after the fact coaching of like, all this went wrong, and if it happens again, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, this is our challenge together. And, sometimes people don't know where to start, and they're like, hey, man, like, honestly, I'm just beating my head up against the wall. Can you sit in on a couple of my calls? Can you sit in my demos? Like,
right.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can get some specific things to coach them on to help them out with. But really the rub comes up to whenever like that you got to let them know that you're looking to help them.
Right.
And on some really specific stuff to help them out. And that's how I hold people accountable.
Yeah, no, I think that's really awesome. And, there's probably different exercises and techniques that you mentioned right there that anyone can do to like make sure that you're actually building those relationships with that reps. And I think additionally, you mentioned passion right there. So there might be someone who be too passionate. Maybe they're not passionate at all. How do you prevent passion burnout and just burnout in general to permeate that happiness throughout the team, throughout the core?
Gotcha. So passion burnout is a topic that I'm particularly passionate about because I'm really, really bad about it. And it's something I've always struggled with. I've always been an all-in type of guy.
Right.
And I really had to put some things in place to throttle me back and work with my boss on him keeping me in check. So one thing that's really, really helpful around passion burnout is, in addition to having objectives as it relates to career development and, your business objectives around what you own within Beck Tech. So, if you're an SDR pipeline, AE revenue, whatever it might be, we have health and wellness objectives. They're very clear, defined things. For example, mine this year was that I took 1 week PTO every single quarter, and not just PTO, like phone off, going in the back country, like disappearing for a week.
And how did that help?
Oh, a complete technology detox.
Yeah.
And if anything, like the biggest thing that it helps with is it just gives you perspective. You walk away from it, really appreciating what you have a lot more, instead of crumbling underneath of, oh, we've got this issue, we've got that issue. It's like, take a step back for a little bit and chill out. You're like, man, not only do I have a really great career and work at a really great company, but I got a really great life. So I think it just gives you some opportunity to just realize how blessed you are in certain aspects, and just get you away from the noise and just get your mind to calm down for a little bit. So that's a really big piece of it. The health and wellness objectives really help. I tell you, the other thing too is just teaching and coaching patients.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of really young reps. Some of them came from transactional. Some of them are straight out of school. And what we're doing at Beck Tech is really teach them how to be true enterprise salespeople.
Right.
I went through this exact same transition. It's a painful transition because you want immediate results, and you just don't have that. Our sales cycle right now is about a year. Mm-hmm. And so really teaching them to be patient and strategic is a big part of that. And, it's like, hey man, you're thinking about firing off that extra email or, blowing them up a few more times. It's like, dude, just be patient. Like you can't make this go any faster. And if you do, you're going to come off as a pest, and it's going to blow up on you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, it's not going to work.
Yeah, trust the system. And I didn't understand at the time whenever I was going through it. I was just frustrated like all the time. But the biggest part of moving, like whether it's advancing in your career or moving from transactional enterprise, is patience. And what patience is learning how to be strategic.
Right. It is. And then, within that, like, how would you, because I think that you touched on something I want to dive a little bit more. How would you encourage people to go out and take that time to prevent passion burnout when their numbers being held over their head? I think that's like the hardest thing. And a lot of people are like, I don't want to take any vacation. I'm the same way. I'm like, I hate taking vacation because it's like, dang it, I'm going to miss a week. Like, I'm going to be behind. Like, I could have been working that week. Like, that's more question for me because I'm terrible at it. But I know people in the audience definitely want to learn more about how you mentally, like, I have to do this.
Yeah, so I definitely struggle with the same thing. It's the fear of missing out. It's the fear that you're letting people down. It's all those things. And I think the biggest thing is taking away the stigma of fear and realizing bigger picture. Yes, we got an amazing product. Yes, we're making a big difference in our industry, but there's not a true estimating software emergency. Like it can wait. It's more important for you to be a healthy rep and come back, laser focused and re-energized than it is to just kind of go through things halfway, or worst case, like you just get fed up and you say, hey, like I can't do this anymore. So it's just not worth it. That's probably one of the biggest things is just taking away the fear of like encouraging them, have you taken your PTO this quarter?
Exactly.
Why not? Have you gone home and visited your parents? Why not? And then we also do some really cool things internally just to kind of help slow it down as well. We have a specific sales retreat where we just kind of hang out and do some stuff just to really relax. And then also just making sure that people are taking care of themselves from a health standpoint. Hey man, how you doing on your workouts?
Yeah.
What do you mean you're missing? Oh, well, you feel like you're too busy. Well, okay. Well, how can I help you? Where do you need help so you can start doing that?
Of course.
That type of stuff.
For sure. No, those are all great stuff. And it kind of goes into the next question was, how or why are you building systems in place to promote that happiness throughout that team?
Gotcha. Well, the biggest reason why that you build any system is to scale it, right?
Yeah.
And we've already talked about why happiness is important.
Hmm.
It's creating an environment to where not only are your reps successful, but your clients are successful, because everybody across the board is doing things with the right amount of passion and intensity to really make sure they're doing the right things. But the reason why to build the system is so it scales appropriately. And so you can measure it and you can really look at that happiness factor as a leading indicator to the final result that you're looking for, which is scaling that success. Another big thing too is just, it's my job to create that system, to
Right.
create that environment to where not only are our clients successful, but our reps are successful and they have successful career paths here. And, happiness can be one of those things to where it's either, hey, how do I feel today? Or it can be a little bit more measured and systemized to where you say, okay, I'm frustrated because I want to be here in my career, but I'm only here. And it's like, okay,
Right.
well, let's talk about the specific things we need to do in order to do that. Or it's
Mhm.
a personal thing. And then that's whenever you have those conversations within that system of the one-to-one, to make sure you understand what's going on in their life.
Yeah, 100%. And then, on top of that, how do you hold reps accountable to make sure? I mean, we talked about this already, but how are you making sure you're holding them accountable within the workplace to make sure they're happy? So what are some like team things that you're doing? I know one-on-one, you may be telling some people what's like some team exercises or maybe spiffs to make sure people are continuously engaged throughout the workplace.
So great question. One is that you got to recognize and reinforce the right behaviors.
Yeah.
So we do a really, really great job of that as a company. We have a monthly lunch. So our cultural values are passion, innovation, and caring.
Mm.
Peers nominate peers for really exemplifying that. Whoever wins gets to donate to the charity of their choice. So getting recognized for the right behaviors in front of their peers is a great way to hold everybody accountable for doing the right things.
Mm.
Some of the other things that we do as well is, just to make sure that we're spending some time, having fun, and the spiffs that we're doing, have a culture aspect to them. We're sending a couple reps to the Surf and Sales Summit that
Cool.
Scott.
Yeah. Scott Leith. Yeah.
Yeah. So Scott Leese is a great friend and mentor of mine, and we're actually running a sales contest around that, but it's only 50% based on sales metrics. The other half is based all around how you're exemplifying culture.
Got it.
So that's kind of a cool thing that we're doing as well. And then the other thing, we have reps that travel a lot as well. So we really encourage people to, if you're on the road, like, hey man, bring your wife, bring your girlfriend, like have some fun with what you're doing. And, the other thing too is that, as cheesy as it sounds, I ask the question all the time, like just talking one-on-one with
Yeah.
reps. Hey man, are you having fun? And they're like, yeah, I'm having fun.
Exactly. You got to know that though. You got to know that.
Are you really having fun? No,
Yeah.
I'm having fun right now. I was like, all right, man, well, don't take it so serious. You'll be all right.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially whenever they get out of like a tough negotiation or something, they feel a little beat up. You're like, dude, you still having fun? They're like, yeah, man, I'm all right.
Yeah. We all go through that. There's a call where it's like, geez, that call was rough. But hey, as long as you're having fun and you're enjoying it, that's what really matters. And, we're going to the last question here, Tyler, to give him some great insights so far. What is the number one piece of advice that you have for SDRs or entry-level sales professionals as they enter into their new role?
Yeah, so that's a great question. The number one piece of advice is to go think long term around where you want to go work, and
Right.
Do things for the right reason. And whenever you look at companies where you want to work, think about it from the aspect of where are you going to be able to gain the most knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's probably the most important piece. You can make varying degrees of money in your first couple of years as a sales rep, but where can you gain the most amount of long-term knowledge?
Mm-hmm.
Where can you get the best mentoring? Where can you get the best training? Where are you going to be in the best environment that's going to make you successful? So set the money to the side for the beginning part of your career and really think about the skills, knowledge, mentoring. Where's that environment at that's going to set you up for long-term success?
Awesome. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for providing some great insight on this topic. As I always say, guys, keep dialing, and I'll see you guys soon.